So it's time to start WP-Tonic today. This is my favorite Saturday show. Really, this is one of the top WordPress shows and in its field, WP-Tonic. So a couple seconds of silence. Episode is at 84, we said, and it's going to be 234 on timelines. Here we go. Welcome to WP-Tonic on timelines, and it's episode 234 on timelines. And our episode today is 84 in WP-Tonic. Congratulations, WP-Tonic. I just looked. You're like number 2 in your field on WordPress. It moves around. Good job, Jonathan. And we have back on our show, because he was on, just was up on 232 on timelines and on the real estate show, which I think was episode, 40 something. We got Preston Zeller. And Preston Zeller is neat. He has an agency. He started in the WordPress business, and he's transitioned to real estate. And I tell you what, I know when I look back, we've made our biggest money in our life. I had a builder when we did pure real estate. We added all these things, and we have our own marketing company. Preston, you're amazing. But tell us, before we get going, and Jonathan's here, of course, tell us a little bit more about you and what you did before you got into real estate and what drove you into real estate. And then Jonathan, I'll let Jonathan talk about WordPress.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. So a lot of my background has been this kind of hybrid of small businesses and startups, and then eventually evolved into kind of more established businesses and strategy and content. And really this evolution over the past 6-7 years, where it's like making marketing campaigns that drive ROI and assets that you own, that you put investment into. So over time, I realized I had a very good handle on project management and strategy for an overall execution of something. And that's really one of the biggest things, is like, obviously the individual parts of a project for marketing, long-term strategy, they're all important. But unless you have someone kind of helming that ship and keeping it on track, it falls apart. And so where I really excel is I can examine, hey, here's where we want to get to, breaking it down to those parts that really matter. Who do we need to get there? And then kind of delegating that out. So yeah, that's a lot of my background prior. And I've done quite a bit in WordPress and as a CMS. Shopify would probably be second. I've been doing a good amount of e-commerce stuff, and I just finished a crazy build in Shopify. Yeah, that is an interesting platform. And I've worked in all sorts of other stuff, but WordPress, for all the reasons people might fault it, it has so much potential if you do things right on it. And that's the key, because there's a lot of slop artists on WordPress. So finding the right one is one of the big deals.
Before we go in there, Jonathan, you said there's a lot of slop artists, but I'll tell you what, I know what, I think I understand what you're saying. Are there a lot of people who are trying to develop for people who are slop artists? But I'll tell you what, if a real estate agent just does a simple WordPress site and learns to blog and sticks with it, they're going to get SEO and learn about it. So, I mean, there's a process in going, but I do love WordPress with a passion. I like podcasting. I like netcasting. I like lab. But I'll tell you what, fundamentally, that WordPress tool, that platform is so neat and so important.
And to answer your question real quick, where like how all that came about in real estate, because I know a lot of people who I've worked with, they've seen me go into real estate, and some of them got it, some of them kind of didn't. And I grew up thoroughly in a real estate family, and I mentioned that on the show the other day. But I mean, I grew up around commercial real estate development, residential real estate development, design, kind of you name it. And I just developed a passion for it early on. And then as I've kind of like tracked in my marketing career, I've always kept an eye on real estate. I did a real estate startup with my dad about 4 years ago. Didn't pan out there, but I still knew, I'm like, my passion for real estate's got to go somewhere. So, eventually I got to the point where really with consulting for marketing, I'm like, you know what, all the stuff that I'm telling people to do to grow their business, I could put it into just consulting for marketing, but I want to do it in a specific field. And that's where I just said, I'm going to take it into real estate. So I got my broker's license, and I'm like, let's see how far I can push the limits of this and really like test these marketing strategies to the point where I can say, here are the bona fide results. Let me show you how to do them, type of thing. So
Yeah.
That's
Go
good
ahead,
to
John.
do. Yeah. So, Preston, what do you see as if you're agent, broker, you're looking at various options. Maybe you can give us quickly what you see as a couple, 2 to 3 of WordPress strengths and maybe some of its weaknesses. What do you see as its strengths, really, fundamentally?
Yeah, so strengths, I think overall there's a lot of people who work on it. So it's not hard to find someone who is probably pretty well versed in WordPress. So its accessibility from that standpoint is very high. There's a lot of external services that work well with WordPress because they know WordPress powers a lot of the internet, and especially a lot of the commercial internet. And its versatility. You look into, any kind of website, right? Real estate website, an e-commerce website. A lot of good uses there for WordPress and just how you implement it. But I don't think you could say the same for something like Drupal, or Joomla. It's just not there. Not now.
What's some of its weaknesses?
I think weaknesses, one absolutely is its vulnerability. Because it is so widely used, it's also widely attacked, right? So if you have a site that you let go by, you let go defunct, something's going to happen to it. Again, these are all kind of counterpoints to its strengths, but there's a lot of developers, but there's also a lot more probably, not so good developers to weed through who may not understand the WordPress codex and good standards for WordPress, that kind of thing. And then also, again, going back to, I think probably its versatility. It can, there's setting up an e-commerce site, and then there's setting up a good e-commerce site, right? And there's setting up a real estate site, and there's setting up a good real estate site. So it's like, there's kind of the mindset that, I can slap together plugins on a website and then it's just as good as hiring a pro, from a DIY approach. And sometimes that may work, but if you want a really high level, then it's like, okay, you usually got to go to someone who can provide that high level.
Well, that's great. So if you're a real estate agent or broker, what are some of the fundamental things that you got to know about when you're looking at getting a professional agent or broker website? What are some of the crucial things that you think they've got to look at if they're also thinking of utilizing WordPress?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the biggest things is your IDX provider. Who's going to play nice with WordPress? A lot of IDX providers I've noticed, how they function inside of WordPress. It's just not as clean as it should be. And, by that, I mean, how they're playing with your theme, right? How they integrate with your theme. Are they working with the styling of your theme to be mobile friendly? That kind of thing. Also, how you're bringing over your leads. What's the exact route that is taking when you get a new lead? And then also testing and speed. I actually just switched, I believe, yesterday to WP Engine, and I'll see how I like them. But I was on a kind of little bit of an older server before. I'm like, I got to get off it, and it's already helped quite a bit. But
well, we're into digital. So if you decide WP Engine, give us and I'll help you out, Preston. We'll get you on DigitalOcean. Much quicker, much cheaper, highly secure, mega fast. So yeah, the IDX integration. So would you suggest there's over half a dozen IDX WordPress shops? They provide plugins in the area. Are there any that you think you would recommend yourself?
There's a lot more. than half a dozen. Surely, I mean,
Yeah.
you have a lot
I was talking about the main ones, to be honest.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, there's the main ones. I use IDX Broker, and they seem to have, in relativity to the rest of the market, a pretty good handle on just features and whatnot that are going to be friendly to the real estate agent. Other than that, I looked into a lot of the other ones, and here's the thing: the big caveat with any application, any service, any platform is, are they still going to be around in a year, 5 years? I mean, that's really kind of the bottom line, because you have so many people. If you go to Code Canyon or anything like that, or GitHub, they make stuff and it was like a one-off project. And then when WordPress updates and all your other plugins updates, this thing is basically useless. And it's like, why bother? So yeah, looking for stability in the product itself, I'd say, is fairly important.
So who would you say today where is the stability? Who does it lie with in the WordPress, and not just WordPress, in the whole industry of real estate?
I guess that's kind of a two-part question, because you have so many startups in the just overall in the real estate community, right? And so you have things like Playster, Easy Agent Pro is kind of an up and coming one, and these are all kind of turnkey solutions, right? Where you just you're paying the service every monthly fee, and then it keeps going. How long those guys will be around, I don't know, because most of those are less than 5 years old, less than 3 in many instances. I think WordPress is almost a safer bet in some ways, because you don't have to be reliant on an entire single company necessarily. Okay. If your IDX broker feed breaks and say IDX broker goes completely out of business, I can go find a new IDX broker. So, it takes away a bit of the chore there. One of
the things, if you don't mind, because obviously, hopefully, we're going to have a lot of agents and people listening to this.
Sure.
What does IDX plugin actually do? What does it exactly do, Preston?
So IDX Broker does a few things. Like most of them, it'll do you can create an account, right? So you have some form of lead generation. Specifically with agent evolution, why I like it is because it integrates nicely with it. In fact, IDX Broker bought Agent Evolution. I think that's how that worked out. So, they made it. They're continuing to try to make it more seamless, I guess. The saved searches, polygonal searches. So you can do a variety of search types, and search functions. Trying to think of what else. Saved.
I was thinking more on the fundamental levels. I'm sorry. I speak to some agents. They don't actually understand, because they pay an association a fee, and a lot of the association offer their data as an iframe, and they don't really understand why that's not a good idea and why they should go to a paid monthly fee and get provider specific plugin. You like to explain what the benefits maybe are of not using an iframe and actually using a plugin?
Well, yeah, I mean, iframes it's a bit of an older technology when it comes to embedding stuff. I mean, I think a good example of this is if you were to look at like Wistia, and Wistia is a sort of higher level video hosting platform, and that's an alternative, right, to YouTube and Vimeo. So you can get better analytics on it. When you go to use their platform and you're embedding a responsive video, the way that it's encoding it for the responsive purposes is different than an iframe. That's because it's more reliable. But back to your original question, which was what again? Can you remind me?
Well, the association, Every agent has to be, and they, you get a monthly fee, and part of that they will provide an iframe feed. And then the agent, when you say to the agent, well, I advise you not to use that, but to buy a plugin that will show the data on your WordPress site. They don't really understand why they should really do that.
Right. Okay. So,
Jonathan, on IDX, why use a plugin versus an iframe? That's a basic question.
Yeah.
And it's for search.
What I was going to say is a lot of that comes down to a plugin will actually incorporate an API, right? And the API is sort of the Rosetta Stone. It's the backbone of all the data that comes over. An iframe is not going to do that. So, keeping that data fresh, like listings, right? I mean, if I go to the listing part of my website in Google Search Console, it's like 32,000 indexed pages. You're not going to get that with an iframe. You're going to get an iframe that's maybe, might refresh, but, and someone mentioned here that about, Bill mentioned about Top Producer, right?
Yeah, that's a whole different area, isn't it?
But Top Producer has been around for a long time in the real estate game. So if you look for companies that are going to survive and be here, Top Producer has been here forever and they're survived. Now, Top Producer is also working at some other things, web pages, IDX, plugins, stuff like that in the backside, because they're playing on the side. So if you look at companies that have been around, as opposed to the overnight somebody shows up, it's an interesting field.
Yeah. So what I say, Preston, to people is one of the other main factors you got to understand is that if you use iframe, it's not going to be indexed by Google. If you use one of the better plugin solutions, the data is probably going to be indexed by Google. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, sure. Well, you're creating actual pages,
Yes.
or you have the potential to. Yeah, and that's partly what IDX Broker does is if you can create pages in the IDX Broker backend, and it'll sync with your WordPress site, and it all plays nicely, pulls the skin over. It does all that well. Yeah.
So you said you looked at a number. The ones that I would say the leading are the one you went for, which is IDX Broker. They've been around a number of years. Another one is Diverse Solutions. They are owned by Zillow. They offer two solutions. I think they offer their base product. They actually offer the cheapest one on the market at the present moment. I think they charge $29.99. It's quite limited, but it is the cheapest offering. Another one, I don't know if you looked at it, Preston, is iHome Finder.
Yeah.
I think they're part of the Murdoch News International that owns a number of other products in the field. So did you look at Home Finder as well?
I did, yeah. And I'm trying to recall exactly what steered me away from my Home Finder. A lot of it, and what I was ultimately looking at was how current are they staying, and how nicely do they play with WordPress. And that was a big thing.
Oh, that's great. So what I think we do, Preston, we're going to go for a break, and then we'll come back and discuss this a little bit more, and then broaden it out a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Okay, coming off the break, we had a little discussion, and actually Preston's got a topic he wants to hit into, and then we'll hit on the other areas of search and SEO. But why should you change your ideology when it comes to your online web presence? And you're looking at, this show is broader than just real estate agents. This is WP-Tonic. So you're talking about real estate agents, any professional, anyone who needs to reach out to people with websites.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so, and I'll cater this to real estate, but you could probably pick out bits and pieces that may apply to you as you're thinking about your own situation. But I think one of the biggest things I've found in real estate, and quite honestly, sort of fox in the hen house for me in terms of going into online marketing in real estate, because there's a very big mentality of service-based lease atmosphere for real estate. And what do I mean by that? Well, I pay a fee and someone lets me borrow online assets until I stop paying that fee, and then they get it back. And I think that's the bill of goods that for most real estate agents you've been sold. Pay $1,000. I mean, we were talking about this the other day. Pay $1,000, $2,000, whatever, to all these different people who want to suck you dry of your commissions, and you don't own anything in the end. You own in a sense your own personal sphere, but online, what do you own? And that's kind of the crux of the issue. When I went to the brokerage I'm at now, they actually have their own agent websites they set up for people. And before I switched over, I said, just so you know, there's no chance I'm giving up my website for your website because it's probably inferior. And it wasn't like, I'm better than you. It's just like, you're not going to provide me something that's better. So why would I give it up? And I think people need to start having more pride in how they're presenting themselves online, and not just from I have this because I borrowed it and it's a billboard sitting out and, I'm going to lose it once some other guy takes over the lease. It's like, no, I own this because I built it. I financed the car and I own it and it's free and clear type of thing. So obviously you have server space, but this really just boils down to thinking about your online web content that reflects you and your brand as something that you need to have complete control over, not just left to the hands of a service or a company. And that's something, and we were talking about this, I think, Jonathan, where there needs to be an opportunity, and I think Jonathan, will provide this, and for people to be able to pay a fee to where and this is how I've typically done it in web design, I'll create a stellar web asset for you, at least the foundational one, that you can take it and run with it. If you want to do the content yourself, great. If you want to hire someone to kind of do that on an ongoing basis, you have an assistant or service, do that. But the bottom line is you own that asset, and that can't be taken away from you. So.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, Preston. My personal position about this, Preston, is that there's a middle ground where you utilize services where they offer the best solution on the market at the present moment, and you take certain bits that it's not worth you investing the time and money in, but the overall the website, the overall online presence you have direct control over. And I don't think there's any problem taking various elements and using them in that big oval platform, which should be your website, your personal branded or your brokerage. And that's my position. And I think it's quite insightful there. And it doesn't only apply to real estate. There's a lot of other industries where there's similar players where they say they will do everything. You're just leasing, aren't you? You're spending from 3 to 5 to 10,000 a month, depending on the size. So that's great. So what I also was going to bring in is that when you bring in SEO, search engine optimization, into the mixture, then most agent websites really do kind of cloud over, and they've heard it's really important, and they heard various bits and pieces, but they normally got a very informed general knowledge of it. Can you give any kind of tips? Because not only have you been in web development and still are, but you're an agent. So what are some of the key things that agent or brokerage got to understand, and you got any tips and tricks about it?
I think one of the most humorous things I see when I'm going in, and I'll just research real estate websites just to see what people are doing. Like, if someone's got something, if someone has a methodology that they're using that resonates with me, I'll go, dang, that's good. How can I kind of roll with that and improve on it? But one of the things I see most often with SEO is, kind of a dated ideology of keyword stuffing, blatant hit you over the head keyword headlines, basically content that's written for search engines and not for humans. I mean, even when it comes down to your web address, how often have you seen the web address that says your city, your state, homes for sale, or luxury homes for sale? You know, luxury Reno, Nevada homes for sale.com. Who on earth wants to write that down? I mean, you know, I'm not saying that's bad per se. I'm saying if that's not brandable. You know, it's so long and it's forgettable because it's a generic term. Your name or your company, that's memorable, right? That's why I chose to go with PrestonZeller.com, because someone meets me, they go, "What's your website?" Go to my name.com. You know, that's real easy. So, I mean, that's my take on at least that from a domain standpoint. You know, when you get to your inner page content, I think the biggest thing is really writing for humans. So writing your content for people to consume that's helpful, that they're going to want to ultimately share. And, you know, search engines are going to look in many ways more at, is this being shared? Are people spending time on the page? Are they leaving the second they land on it? They're going to look at that a lot more than just a more robotic fashion of, well, they hit the keyword 6 times. Well, it's in the headline. That kind of stuff is important, surely. But should it be your primary concern in terms of how you approach content? I don't think so.
To be honest, Preston, I do understand some of the difficulties for agent and broker, because a lot of SEO is you've got to be in the long term, haven't you? You've got to, you know, place articles and content mythology at the same time, and it's got to be at a certain standard, and there's got to be kind of structure to it, and you just got to keep at it, haven't you? And that's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, consistency. That's like any marketing you do in real estate, right? It's the consistency, and I think that can be hard, especially if you have a lot of ideas and you want to hit them all. I know that's kind of like a weakness for me, or can be, is having so many ideas that, okay, just, you know, need to focus. But, you know, and with SEO as well, there's other really good foundational things you can do to optimize your site, and surely do that. But those are usually set. And then you go out and make content, and then it just supports what the foundational keywords of the website are, you know, and just keeps building and building and building on that. So,
hey, Preston, I got a side question here, a couple of them too. I want to follow up with. First of all, we're talking about you and your business as we go into it. You're still building web pages for other agents, you said?
I actually haven't. No, in fact, it's something I'm entertaining the idea of doing.
There's a follow-up to this, because you have the experience in the background. You know, we've got a lot, you know who the big guys are who coach and teach and do all these different things. They're not really up on a lot of the WordPress sites, and that's maybe the future. But one thing you're going to run into is, if you're an agent and you're out selling a product or competing, it's going to be a conflict back and forth. It's going to be tough. Just FYI, because I've been there. I was design, build, construction, and builder. We had real estate agents. So, you know, and we had our own brokerage. So there's conflict there. You know, so you got to really push through. You got to sort of self-contain.
Sure.
But I just want to make you think about that, where you're going, because I do think you have potential to be really smart in the real estate business, since your boots on the ground. You already know it, going in and out of it. It's a hard thing to balance to make money, but I think you got potential there. And then Jonathan, earlier, I want to go back on this question. Jonathan was talking about SEO and plugins and IDX. I think that is important, because it's something that I maybe didn't grasp initially, the iframe, as opposed to trying to get some type of SEO out of your postings or listings. Right? I mean, one way, of course, we know is go out and take a farm area, take pictures of it, cameras of it, and tell a story about that little farm, and post it in maybe a page or a post, and people will discover it and find it. I you know, years later. The other thing is, and I'm not sure about this, is, and it's not proof to me, is the IDX that you pay, and what you do, you pay big money for your IDX and your plugin. Is that really helping you out? Is that giving you search? What's it doing for you?
Yeah, are you asking me or Jonathan that?
Yeah, I'm asking you, both of you, but you in particular, you're paying what, $60?
Yeah.
You have a plugin for IDX. How's that working? And who are you using?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, with IDX Broker, you actually have a fair amount of control over your, your SEO, your title, your meta description, that kind of stuff. They're rigorous to do anything with it, to change it. So that it takes a little bit of time, but with the actual listings themselves, I can see which listings are to a degree are driving traffic to my site. So there are some driving traffic to my site. I think time will tell a bit more because my site hasn't been live for super long, how much traffic that does drive. But in terms of, showing index pages and having a lot of content in that realm, absolutely. I think there's a lot of probably other providers that don't index like that. So, if you can figure out a way to actually write your descriptions where they're changing based off of dynamic fields, that would be a pretty smart way to go about doing it. Because I don't think most people pay attention to that.
IDX Broker, is this the one right here? I just put it in.
Yeah, that's it.
IDX Broker. That's what you're using. And you like that. And why you did some research and picked that one. What, about $60 a month? Something like that?
Well, they do two levels actually, Bill. I think the base level is around just under $50, and then they have platinum. And I don't know if you're using the platinum. That's around
platinum one, yeah,
which is $69 a month if I go by my memory, Bill.
Maybe we can get them on the show.
Yeah, they don't cover all areas. The other thing, I haven't checked this over recently, but for various legal reasons, actually New York doesn't have an association, so you can't get IDX coverage. And some of these providers will cover certain areas, and some areas they won't cover. That's with Northern Nevada, Bill. Diverse Solutions do cover Northern Nevada, and so does IDX Broker. And also Home Finder does. Their product is $35.99.
So which one do you like best of those three here? Which across them? Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Oh, John.
Yeah.
I really, I think if you're really just trying the waters and you're trying to get to a grasp of all this, and I do understand the problem of the broker because there's so much information out there that sometimes you feel overwhelmed. So it might be worthwhile looking at Diverse Solutions at $29.99. But if you're comfortable with the things that me and Preston have been discussing in this show, and you're prepared to make an investment, I probably would look at IDX Broker or iHome Finder, which is, like I say, $35.99. But I think IDX Broker have a lot of experience. They've got over 5 years in the industry, haven't they, Preston?
Yeah, they've been around a while, and one of the people on the side here was asking what IDX is, and it just stands for Internet Data Exchange. So, they're basically taking data from these MLSs and they're translating it into a usable format, more or less. So that's Chris. And Chris had a question. I just want to address this real quick on his business partner was developing a WordPress site for a real estate company in Bulgaria. He sells, rents, manages, and offers furniture packages. What do you feel is the best one to use? I mean, not quite sure, other than that's a WordPress website. You could find a lot of different themes to use for that. If he has another question, he could email me on the side.
That's very gracious of you. So how are we doing for time, Bill?
We are doing really well. A couple more minutes and we'll finish that up.
So basically on the SEO, I just want to put this to you and get your response. I think the other thing is with with the type of portals now that are dominating short tail SEO, they're kind of really, like the 2 to 3 word phrases that these portals dominate. Right. A lot of people have given up, but there's still enormous opportunities in the medium and long tail, isn't there? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so this is where you start getting into really the inbound methodology, and that's kind of a whole nother show in and of itself.
Yeah,
but
we could talk about that whole show about that, couldn't we?
But I guess the gist of it is you have buyer personas, right? And you're targeting first-time home buyers, people moving up, certain age ranges, that kind of stuff, people moving down because they're empty nesters, whatever the case may be, second home. They're all looking for a little bit of a different, solution to their problem or their question. And this is where you get into the long tail, to your point, Jonathan, of you create those long tails around those profiles, and that's really what drives the content. Because if you don't know who's asking the question or what kind of question they're asking, then how can you answer that question? You're just kind of answering questions in a vacuum. So I guess the key point there would be to, figure out who you want to target to, and then do your keyword research around what are they really looking for. And I think that's how you can get some really solid topic ideas for those. And, even, a very simple way to do this is just go into Google and start typing in your question, and it auto completes several other questions. It shows a list of them right there. We'll pick one of those and then scroll down to the bottom, and it'll show what other people have searched for that are like that question. And I remember when I was doing this more for my agency, there was one I figured out that there was a bizarre term that was the movement to marry sales and marketing. I mean, really long tail niche keyword. So I did a really long post about that, and it's much more in the corporate world, but it ended up ranking number 1 for that. And that was a long tail niche keyword you would have never thought of, but people were searching for it. So you get 50 or 100 of those. Then you start showing up in other keywords as well, because they see that you're consistently writing about the same topic.
Yeah, I'll just give some quick general advice, and then see what you think about it, Preston, and then we'll ask. Maybe Bill's got one more final question, and then we're going how people can contact you. But just to kind of wrap up the SEO side, when I'm doing it when I have done it for clients, is that I go for the medium, and I do searches on national terms to start off with, because I find if you try and localize it, like put Reno, is the data that you receive is such a low level that you can't make any analytical judgment. Mm-hmm. So I tend to go to national, and then I try and go for the medium level, because I know on the high level you're just not going to compete with the portals. Mm-hmm. So I go with a group of medium level terms, and then I add a geography refiner like Reno, Northern Nevada. See if anything pops up that's unique about the area, and I'll put that into a silo with the national terms. And then if it's real estate, obviously you're going to be dealing with geography areas that are going to have maybe a very high local search level. So I'll probably do a little bit of research that, and then combine all those 3 silos into what I would call key landing pages, and have silo pages that feed off that. And that would be my basic methodology. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that, Preston? And would you do something similar?
I think that's certainly one way to do it. I'd probably do it a little more backwards, where I'd hit the longer tail stuff and then work up to the just because it's getting more traction in the search engines. That's how I would approach it. But you know what I think's happening too is, even with so even if you don't put a geographically specific identifier in there, tongue twister.
It's a big term, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially on a Saturday morning, isn't it?
And if you don't put one in there, if your site is hyper local, right, or it's just, city specific, and it has, this is how smart the algorithms are getting. If it's something that will benefit, Google knows it will benefit the person asking the question or doing the search because it is a local specific question. They'll detect that without them even putting that in geographically.
Oh, Bill's got a great question here. You want to ask it?
No, we're gonna go to a break and then come back because we got to take our break.
Okay.
Okay, coming off the break, Preston, what can we do for you? How can the listener help you? And how can the listener contact you?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, just, go to my site and check it out. PrestonZeller.com. That's Zeller. Was the last name. And go check that out. And just, have a look at the content. And, first and foremost, now real estate agent. So, someone, Clark County, Washington, Vancouver, Camas, send them my way. I'd love to talk with them. My email is broker@PrestonZeller.com. My phone number is 360-888-9545. And send them my way. And if you're a real estate agent and you got questions about your web presence and that kind of stuff, feel free to email me as well. So.
And this is a WP-Tonic focused show. It's a WordPress show, which gets really high on the WordPress rankings on iTunes. So I'll make sure, folks, that is going to be on the front. I'll do an intro and talk to the WordPress community about we're going into real estate deep. But, the idea is this whole month's themes are about how do you make money with WordPress online? So that can help the WordPress folks who have the agencies, because most of them are clueless and don't understand anything about real estate. They might understand WordPress, but they certainly don't understand that belly-to-belly sales in real estate. So we'll try to relay that to folks. So that's going to lead me to one last question, and I'm going to let Jonathan hit one last question too. I think we need two last questions, one from each of us. But mine, I want to blend this, and I think it's so important, whether on WordPress or doing a digital agency or whatever it might be, and you hear this all the time, is tell us about your lists that are specific to real estate that you use. So tell me about what kind of lists you have. There should be a couple.
Sure. Yeah. So there's certainly a master list, and a lot of that has to do with like overall announcements about typically content that goes up. If it's something I know that can appeal to the masses, so to speak, I'll send everyone on my list. And then rolling over, I have another list that is exclusive to people, and this is a revolving door, who are long-term either selling or looking to buy, and they're looking at the value of homes in the area. They get an automated email at varying frequencies with what's going on in their area and home values and pricing. And then the other list I have would be basically the actual prospects and combination
Your
of
hot list.
Yeah, combination of personal farm and other or personal sphere and farming. But they have a sort of ranking, and depending on what it is, they may get certain types of marketing material from me through my agency, because we have a fantastic design department, and we can send anywhere from a simple postcard to, if they're an A prospect, I'll send them some really nice stuff that is you're not going to ignore. So yeah, that's the gist of the different lists.
So you said, you're calling, you got a list that you're actually calling and sending postcards to and doing those traditional things to back up your basic. You got to do that still.
Right.
A lot of agents, that's all they do.
Yeah. I mean, I think mail still has certainly a place. It's just, it's not the only place.
Right.
No,
you better have your website in the mail.
Yeah. I think the way that you have structured your three main lists is fantastic. So to recap, this is what I got from it. You got a general list, which is basically probably anybody that could recognize you, that's had any kind of personal connection to you over the past 18 months, but they're not actively in the market at the present moment. Mm-hmm. Then you got long-term relationships, maybe investors, buyers, sellers that are not super hot, but you would classify as active. So they're interested in more specific information about specific properties.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your final list, which is your hot list. These are people that are active now in some shape or form, and they need a certain level of focus that the other two groups wouldn't. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a pretty good rundown of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So my final question, and you've been a great guest, is when it comes to WordPress, is there one thing that comes to your mind that you would always advise an agent and broker that they should know about? There's one thing in my mind that comes up. I'm just going to ask you: is there something that, if you were talking to an agent, they said, Preston, I'm interested in WordPress, that you would try and get across to them?
Yeah, I would say make sure that whatever kind of money they spend to create a WordPress asset, I always call it an asset because it should be something that's giving you a return in contacts or whatever. But whatever site or / asset you get created, make sure you own it outright. Make sure that it's something that you can take with you wherever you go, and that you have full control over it, and that you're not hostage to anyone, so to speak.
I think that's great. The thing that which is linked to what you just said is the fundamental thing I would advise anybody, and Bill testified to this, is you own your domain name.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's finish up with that and talk after the record. So say goodbye and we'll come back on that. That's really good. That's really good. Hey, thank you. Let's stay on for a few minutes for the YouTube folks. If you're on listening to a podcast, you can go to the end of the show after about 25, 30 minutes and listen to YouTube. Okay, a couple seconds of silence. This will be a good podcast. Yeah, that's good. Hey, I pulled up this Terry Cox, and that's a good argument. If you just look at her website, why you should use WordPress. She's got a lot of blogging, spent a lot of money on, and it's non-responsive. And I bet it's not. I guarantee it's not WordPress. Her first site I've stuck in there.
It's not.
And her second site is WordPress. I'm pretty sure it's Remax Gold. It's really simple, and she's starting that up more like a blog. But she's got some good presence. Is she a top producer? Tell us about her.
Yeah, she's been in this market for a while. She definitely spends a good amount of money on print advertisements and getting out. She's got a good marketing budget. Let's put it that way. She's a dually licensed broker in Washington and Oregon. Certainly tries to cater to the high end community, and yeah, so I think because she's been around a while, she probably does have a pretty darn good sphere, and quite frankly, doesn't care about her website because she doesn't feel she needs it, and she may not.
Well, no, I think she's got a lot of presence. I just pulled in there. She's got a great blog here that is just a basic blog, and it's pulling high. I just dropped it in. If you look at people like
Remax Gold weekly review.
Yeah, let's have a look at it.
That's just a basic blog.
That's not her site though.
No.
Let me see. I'm going to Remax.
These are articles that are provided by Remix.
I'm just looking. I'm looking.
That's an article that someone wrote on.
Yeah. I hit the Remax. That actually is the Remax site that she's popping on.
Yeah.
And it looks more like a blog. It's pretty interesting. I haven't seen it.
She only has, to my knowledge, USA Relocate.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, this
is the agency.
What'd you say?
Well, we're getting back to the core question here, Preston, before you have to go.
Sure.
And I just want to say, Preston, you've been a great champ on the past two shows. I actually think we've covered a lot of really interesting stuff. And obviously, I would have liked to give you a bit more prior about some of the questions, but it's a balance. We don't like scripting it out too much.
Yeah.
But I think we're going back with the lady that we're looking at. We're going back, Terry Cox. We're going back to this. What is the balance between what the agent should be doing and what should the brokerage? And I think You should, as an agent, you should be professional. You shouldn't do anything that damages the brokerage which you're a member of. If there are any key branding things about dress, some rules. See, it's a bit like Chase. Chase in Thai want all your photography to be black and white and a certain style. You got to work with the brokerage, because the brokerage is obviously going to have their own business requirements and objectives. But on the other hand, you are working for yourself.
Yeah.
So they've got to understand that you're also there to brand yourself, aren't you? So having your own personal website that has maybe links to the brokerage, and the brokerage to have links to your website, where the real conflict starts to set in. It doesn't have to be, I don't think, is who owns the data, who owns the mailing lists, what happens when the agent or the brokerage want to part company. They will want you to utilize their own content their own customer relations system, and as soon as you leave, they're going to cut you off. You can't have that, can you? You got to have access to that data, because you farmed it. You're the one that did the telephone calls, did the handshakes, all the things you got to do to build up that database. So that's but I think if it's really, there's a serious discussion and people are fair to one another, I don't think it has to be as abrasive as it can be. What do you think, Preston?
Yeah. So can you clarify, I guess, what the question was and all that? It was just basically
because I waffled, didn't I? Thanks, Preston. I was just saying this argument about who owns the data, who owns the lists.
Okay.
If you decide that you no longer want to work for A&X brokerage, what's the reasonable position on this, or isn't there a reasonable position?
Well, yeah, I think ultimately, how much is a brokerage going to be giving you in terms of leads? I mean, for the most part, anyone I've ever talked to, or and what I've experienced, you're in charge of generating your own leads. Now, Carl just put out a good point. Needs to happen, be had out in the open before any contracts are signed. I would certainly agree. And anytime I have been with an agency, I certainly discuss those things. So I just recently switched agencies, and one of the things that I had a listing that marketing hadn't started yet, but it was a listing that I signed nonetheless, really because they liked me. It wasn't because I came in and the name I was behind. They said, we want to go with you. So, that happened to be a fairly smooth transition, because I said, basically, I'm going to a place where I can provide more services. So I want to take that listing with me. And, the managing broker happened to say, okay, fine, take it with you, and went through the steps there. But, ultimately, I think you should have a clear understanding. What's a referral? How does that work if you switch brokerages, and make sure that if you do, that's still a referral. And just have a clear understanding on it. It shouldn't be that complicated, I don't think.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, unless you're living or dying by what your agency's giving you, but most people probably aren't doing that anyways. So
I think what Jonathan's getting to is the agents who use just their broker's website. That's the only presence. That's the only search we're getting. So in the search area, they're not. But you should always have, your personal farm, your top 100, top 200, your personal 300. You should have the geographical farms. You carry those with you. Now, a broker, the listing is in the broker's name, not the sales agent's name. Yeah. So technically, depending on the length of the listing, they can hold that house up and keep it listed for the length of that listing. And there's different types of listings, especially in California and in Nevada. So that's a different thing. But I think that's what Jonathan's talking about.
Yeah, it was. It's a balance, isn't it?
Drive people into your website, not the broker's website.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to stay for the broker forever.
And this all comes back to owning your asset, right? Now, if you don't own your asset, you don't have you're not in control of the mechanisms behind it that are keeping it running smoothly, then, at least request a dump of your contacts from whatever brokerage website there is. Whatever's linked to you, get that information and put it into your own database and start, probably, maybe even testing some things out on it, but certainly request that information. If it's not in your possession, make sure you get it.
Hey, FYI, this is Terry Cox. Her website is a WordPress site. It's Red Studio Panel Labs. I think it's a custom theme though.
The USA,
I'm not sure.
USA Relocate?
No. I have it up here. It's the her regular.
Oh, can you put it into?
Let me get it back in there because I got this search up. It'll give me a second.
Relocate, right. Yeah, it's the.
No, is that?
So Preston,
here I got it. Yeah, it's USA Relocate. So that's her. That's the name that she chose, huh? I tell her to get her own name if she can. Cox is probably tough though.
Yeah,
or something with her name in there. It's interesting because that looks like a corporate name. But let me go into this where I was. I sort of lost my place here. So it looks like it's a Red Studio. Do you know Red Studio Panel Labs? And then theme for the description is just a theme. It's a custom theme. It's not responsive. So she could go on. She could make this responsive. Right.
She could do a lot to overhaul that whole thing. Probably.
She's got some old plugin in here, a bunch of old plugins that I don't recognize.
I don't really care though. She can keep this. She can keep it old as much as I
know. We're reviewing websites.
You're such a naughty boy, Preston.
Jonathan, we review websites all the time, right? This is a good website to review because you're looking at this was successful. This helped her become successessful.
Yeah,
she's done the right things, but for some reason she hasn't kept it up. She spent a lot of money on this website.
This was one of the ones that
got Google Analytics
review.
She does have Yoast in it, and she's got SEO and Yoast at the same time. Is that a good idea?
Well,
I don't think you need two SEO plugins.
Yeah, you wouldn't want two SEO plugins. It's kind of conflicting. It looks like she's actually changed a few things on here since.
She's got MailChimp widget,
mm-hmm.
which is weird. She's using MailChimp.
She loves
the
star.
What do you mean the star?
The red star.
The red star name, yeah. Her branding is very good. Her look, her branding, her picture is very good. I really like what she's doing. We talked about design last month for a month, and we really never got into this.
Preston. I know she's a competitor, but keep your balance.
It's not balanced. I'm sure she's good, right? She's good. What's her production?
I don't know her production. She always touts herself as being ranked and something.
We can look it up on
nationwide, global. Yeah.
My initial impression is, she's got a good headshot. We have talked about photography. The thing is, she's probably got too much content information on the right, really. It's a bit too many phone numbers. The more choice you give to people, the more they're going to vacillate.
Look at her website, yeah. On the left, you're talking about the right up in the right-hand corner?
Yeah, all these phone numbers. There's probably two.
She's got her number. She's got her cell.
I at the most would have two phone numbers.
I wouldn't put the office there, I don't think.
And, you got a lot of... before the phone, you got a lot of area taken up with some photography. Yeah, I understand why. I'm not sure how effective it is. And then you got a lot of copy, and it's a lot of it's very generic marketing copy. I think the font size and the basic layout of the text makes it not that readable, and probably most people aren't going to read it. Then on your left, you've actually got the search mechanism. And then you've got read Terry's real estate newsletter. Well, I don't think anybody, because of the design and that, probably are signing up for it.
Yeah.
How effective?
Probably not a very good newsletter either.
Well, we can't
Well,
say.
okay. Let me show you something that's like, you know, maybe most people won't notice, but if you go on the right hand side and you look in her last tweets, right?
Let me find this. Let me go back to her homepage.
Yeah, she's got the bar.
Okay, I'm on the homepage and it's coming up to customize your home search. I don't see any.
If you go to buying a home, you see.
Buying a home, right?
Wait a second. Let's drop the site on here. See, this is the site I've been looking at. I've been analyzing. So I'm going to go to buying a home next.
Yeah, right.
That's right there. I see it. So I went to buying a home. Okay.
Okay, then you look in the right hand side. Follow Terry on Twitter. Yeah.
Let's say stay customized. It's not highlighted. It's dark, and you got to hit her Twitter handle. Okay, I'm following her. Okay, so you go to that, and you know, what do you see? What is she posting? She's got the an inlet bay, the water, and let me see what she's posting. Call me for a private showing. Right. And when is it posted? May 22nd, 2:15. And you know, if you just go down the list, my point really is, you go down the list: breathtaking home, river views, new price, new listing, 2 open houses, new listing, new price, new price. I agree. Just listed. Personal contact. It's so me that's like it's almost like, are you a narcissist? What's going on here? You know, I don't know, Terry.
But funny enough, Preston, I know a service that can help with that.
No, I do. No, I told you from get-go. Jonathan, I told you from get-go, that's it. Honestly, if you look at Karen's feed on her Twitter or Facebook for business.
Sorry, but
Jonathan, wake up. That's your business, man. You got your business right there. It's that posting and the good content, which you've improved on. Those two things. Doing that professional page on Facebook and filling it with great stuff like you do on Twitter. So at least you'll look like you're posting and doing something if the agent's not doing something. And the agent doesn't have to do anything. Now, you should put personal stuff in there too. And that's the training and the coaching. That's your model right there. It's simple. It's done. It's been done for a year.
I think the whole point real quick is like, use that 80-20 rule. So 80% should be about helping other people, and 20% you can use it to promote your listings or whatever. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But she didn't update it either, though.
Well, yeah, and you know, posting on it would probably be somewhat important. But you know, if
30 years in real estate, top 1% of RE/MAX agents in the U.S. Broker of Oregon and Washington. Buying, selling, or relocating. I am a real estate expert. So what this does is it gets her social credibility for those who don't know a whole lot about Twitter, and they do pop this up or they see this in a presentation, things like that. That one-on-one relationship, and most of your listings, your high-end listings, still come from people that aren't maybe overly savvy when it comes to online businesses.
Apart, you know, if you go back to the website, I think one of the main areas where I think she's missing out a little bit, it really isn't, it doesn't really tell you much about her, and you get no kind of feel about what Terry's about. And because it's a personal business, I don't know how you do with this, Preston. Do you think your website and your presence, does it give any kind of feel about what you are, what your kind of personality, and how you're going to react with your clients?
Preston, drop your website in.
Yeah,
so we'll do yours next, and we'll call it, even though I'm late here, because this is important stuff.
Yeah, let's do mine, and then and
we'll talk about yours. This is important stuff.
Definitely rip me apart. You know,
I'm impressed. No, I'm impressed. I think your website's great. I will make a couple comments though. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of my things is, do you talk in the third person or do you talk in the first?
That's a good question. That's a great question.
I mean, that question could change depending on what year you ask, probably. But, you know, now and for the past several years, I would say you talk in the first person because. Hey,
first thing, you built this, right? You created this whole site?
Mm-hmm.
Who's that family in the middle? Who's the family in the middle? Anybody? Or just
not anyone specifically.
Okay. Do you have, you're not married, I take it, right? Are you married?
Oh no, I'm married. I'm about to have my third child.
Okay. You have family and kids and a dog. That's it. I put yourself up there. I mean, a dog is wonderful. A dog will get you listings like you can't believe it.
Interesting.
No, it will.
Yeah, I actually do agree.
I think up on top.
I think the photograph's great, but I think it'd be a lot more powerful. It was actually you and your family.
Okay.
Spend some money, go and get a family shot. Stick it there.
I'm looking at opposite scroll. You know,
but it's a it's a great picture. I think, and your company too. I looked at it a little. M Realty. I like it. I like the simplicity.
Thanks. Yeah,
it's easy to remember.
It's about as simple as it gets.
I like it though. It's a nice graphic. It's good. It has potential. It's like, I love it. Let me look at their website. What's Emily's website, if you don't mind?
It's portlandhomes.com. Drop it in.
Anyway, going back to your site, I just want to pull it in there because I think you got a great site. And you've got this engine behind it. You need to somehow get your picture up on the top. You know, your picture's down the bottom.
Yeah.
You need to get it right on the top so you can see it.
I'm actually, it's funny you say that because I talked to, I'm getting them to change the equity framework to make it work for that. I could change it myself, but I'm like, you guys should just freaking change that. I mean, come on.
Oh, equity. Yeah. Equity. Is this a, not, I mean, is this this isn't a, Genesis.
No, it's not Genesis. It's
a type.
It's done by. It's a kind of Genesis. They've got their own framework, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's specifically designed to you.
Agent Evolution makes it.
Yeah.
Hey, let me finish up real fast. What I do like, and I'll let you go, John. What I do like is it's nice and simple. It's clean. Your name being your name being your domain is great. More pictures. I haven't looked at your blog really. I like this. Maybe the search is right in front. Maybe you need some way to capture email faster though. You need some giveaway or something to get their email, get people interested. But it's a beautiful site. Mortgage calculator, sellers, cities, areas, real estate site map, loans, and about. The about is important. Maybe you need to get the about on the more to the left because I want to know about you. If I'm going to list with you, I want to know more about you, the person. I want to know, like, and trust you. And it's all about listings. So other than that, getting your picture up front, I mean, the potential here is huge. And it's really a beautiful website. It's a modern looking website. So it's a gorgeous website. And I guess, do you populate all these pictures or they auto-populate or what's the story behind the pictures here? Which
pictures?
All through it. If I go down, the middle are probably Explore Clark County Real Estate. That pops up. That's from your IDX plugin, right?
No, a lot of this I had to just source. I mean, I got these from a variety of locations. I mean, one thing in doing web design for a while, you develop a pretty strong tool chest
picture
of different things you can get.
Do you have these little tags so they're coming up with your name on them? So when a picture comes up, it's got you and leads back to you.
I don't tag them as my name. I think that's kind of actually an old school SEO trick.
That works.
I tag them as what keyword I'm targeting for, So if the one for Vancouver, if it's Vancouver real estate, that's what I'm doing. I'll tell you something real quick that I've been doing that has actually been working fairly well. If you go to one of the city pages, and it's probably, it's pretty elaborate city page. If you go to like, Vancouver or whatever.
Right.
Vancouver,
Let's go to Vancouver.
So hopefully,
just go to Canis.
Yeah, go to Camis.
So go to cities.
Under cities, go to Camis.
Camis.
Yep. And
nice.
So one of the things about these pages is, a lot of different content. I'm not sure how well it's loading in your browser or not.
So that video, that's not your video, right? Somebody else's about Canvas. I've done that too. It'd be nice to make your own too. If you have time.
Exactly. I mean, it's like eventually get these things, but what I have is a Pinterest plugin. And if you scroll down, below the map, you see photos around Camis, right? You should see them.
Yeah,
So what I've been doing actually is just pinning photos directly from this page into a board I have that says living in Camas, Washington. And so what that does is it carries over it, you know, it's all the while these are images I got from Flickr. It's sourcing and giving the Flickr photographer credit still. So I'm not diminishing that. But it's posting this and giving someone a legit a legit picture of Camas, Washington, and it's on my board, and I've seen it shared a bunch of times. I mean, look on the bottom. Does it tell you 100 shares?
It does.
Yeah. So that
on the bottom of the page.
Yeah, that gives you a good idea of, you know, I don't know where all it's been shared, but Pinterest is one of those. So I have these boards for these different cities, and I'll just post these pictures to them, and they come up in search results on Pinterest. And that, you know, it's kind of one of the ways I've been doing it. And kind of the ideology behind these pages is I wanted to make it just rich of content. So when someone comes to it,
you know the one thing you're missing, Preston.
Yeah,
the
sure.
secret you're missing: meerkats.
Meerkats.
Meerkat. I think they're going out of business, aren't they?
You got everything, Preston, but you ain't got the meerkat.
Meerkat's going out of business. No, Meerkat's shutting down. Or they already shut down.
Meerkat.
I just couldn't resist it. I'm sorry. I'm not serious.
All right.
No, this is good. Hey, what? I noticed you've got some nice plugins in there. I'm pulling them up right now. I'm doing a search.
Yeah.
Now, see, what was your thoughts? Because I know it's difficult, Preston, but I've kind of learned the thing I've really cut back is the drop-down menus, and I really don't like more than 2 to 3 selections if I have to go down that route. But it's difficult, you know, because on most of them you got it varies, doesn't it? You got 3 to 4, and some you got 5 to 6.
Right.
The only other thing I would say is, which is unusual because it's normally the other way, is you got a lot of content. And I'm on the cities and I'm on Camas still. And you got the big video, and then you got your text, and the text is full width. It depends on, you know, because obviously you know and I know they're just going to skim read this, but maybe if you could cut it so it's not full width, and put some more headings in, that would break it up. And then you scroll, and you got all your images here, which is great. And you scroll, and then you got this section, top schools, which is great, isn't it? These are really like, in one of our podcasts, we discussed this with Bill, evergreen content that can only build up more SEO, and that's what these pages are going to do. So the only thing that kind of gets me is the kind of drop downs need to be cut down a bit, and maybe have a sidebar with these top cities where you have a sidebar where they can select the different areas. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I see what you're saying, and
then what's the sense on the cities again? Why don't you want it on the drop bar? I'm going down through them myself.
Because obviously I need to minimize. I need to go to mobile. I'd imagine a navigation change.
On mobile, okay.
Have you considered just having mobile navigation even on the desktop version?
No, I haven't really considered that one, but you know, that's something to keep in mind. Surely, you know, you guys know, building out a website.
This is a great website.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you features wise, it's
a $10,000 website, right?
I certainly feel like it would be in that, you know.
Well, you put enough effort into it, that's for sure. I can tell you.
What would you charge an agent to build something like this, maintain it?
Well, it's build and build, isn't it, Preston? It depends if they're going to help you with the SEO and the content provision, doesn't it, Preston?
Yeah, I mean, so you build out the site, right? That's one thing, and then you have an ongoing content plan, and that's something. Sometimes people just want to take the reins themselves, and then but other times they just want to have someone do it. So, yeah, it's certainly. In looking at what people will often spend for probably getting something less, I would.
You got the other thing here. So you've moved hosting because you moved it to WP Engine. You got a lot of things going on these pages. So you're not being happy with the load speed when it comes to mobile. Is that about right?
It's just in general. I mean, it's like security, it's caching, it's, all of the above, just being able to actually optimize the site a bit better. And so that's kind of
because you got a lot of images on these pages, so caching and good hosting is going to be important, isn't it?
And within a lot of these different things, like so where you see photos around, Hawkinson or Camus or whatever, that plugin in and of itself caches the images. So, they're keeping that pretty much static for the most part. And then, so it's making it faster. I mean, site speed is something I'm nuts about, getting that down because there's just so much data around slow sites and how slow sites just kill you with conversion.
SEO.
And SEO, right. Yeah.
The hey, I'm going to get going. Why don't we tie this up? We'll have you back. This is excellent.
I got a jam too. Actually.
By the way, don't laugh too hard. But the basic WordPress site that I did is one of my old Bluehost sites. I've got a couple. I've got a DigitalOcean as well as a SiteGround. SiteGround's really good. SiteGround's so much better than Bluehost. Dude, but I mean, I got that thing as fast as I can get it using Cloudflare and a basic account. But that's how, I mean, a lot of people use Blue Hosting, which start blabs, blogs or podcasts. But I definitely, you're right. Speed is so important. How much are you paying for WP Engine?
I think that one's got down to like $20 a month.
Yeah, that's it. I imagine the base product, unless you got a coupon, it's $29.99, isn't it?
I was able to get some other kind of discount, and then I found another discount that allowed me to do like $3 a month for the first few months.
Yeah. That digital, and agents don't. How many hits are you getting a day? On your site?
Let me look. It's something
interesting to see this one.
Yeah, it's something, and let's keep in mind here. I launched this site probably a little less than 2 months ago. So
wow, I tell you, it's gonna be a huge site someday as you tweak it and get it going.
Great content. Sorry, go on, Bill.
You're going to be up to where that Terry is, whatever her name is, if you hang in there and work at it very fast.
That's my hope here, just to keep, because no one's really doing content in my area, and that's like, most areas. Yeah. So,
but you apply it to those other things, getting that list. You got to get listings. You have to have listings.
Well, folks, I think you need to be off, Bill. I need to be off, and I'm sure Preston needs to go off.
See what his numbers are. I'm waiting for his numbers. I'm just checking Karen's real fast.
Per month, 377. So
okay, I'm looking at my wife's per day.
Nothing earth shattering, but keep in mind there's a lot of spam that gets into Google Analytics, and that's that's removing any of that. So.
Well, when we have like when I post an open house or something like that, we get more downloads.
Sure, absolutely.
My wife's, but it's not huge. But see, a real estate agent generally doesn't get a lot of people going to their site. It's kind of weird. So you need that speed. So you don't need a lot of that bandwidth per se, but you need the speed in the hosting. It's just,
but Preston's covering areas, covering schools, covering resources that would be interested as that builds up. More video taken by yourself. those key evergreen area pages are just going to build as long as you keep working on them. They're just going to increasingly get more. Are you looking at maybe at some stage a directory where local businesses, where you can say, if you write up some stuff, you can put it on the directory. If you link to me, that's another thing you're probably looking at.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that was one of the things I was mentioning the other day is what I'm working on right now. And I think this is just going to go like gangbusters, is this community spotlight program I'm going to do. And I'm doing my first one next week, where, you know, I'm interviewing other businesses, creating content out of it. And all they have to do to, you know, in return is share the heck out of it. So you get
you know what, we recorded that. We got to put that on the very first of the show. So what you just said, Karen has made most of our money off of something very similar to that.
Okay.
The community spotlight. That's what we've done it. When I interview somebody from the community and I throw a little commercial on the podcast, a little tiny commercial, but Karen being the greatest agent going, you know, SEO, just a short one. And Jonathan, you've heard in the show, we get listings, we get clients. And it's from the people that they know. So every time I interview somebody new in town, we pick up their friends and family and their list. And it's targeted in using podcasting, maybe Blab, but podcasting and YouTube and a website. That's where the money to be made in this real estate business is, right there.
Yeah, sure. But I think we're finishing a high. Thanks for coming on, Preston.
Thank
You've
you
been
guys.
a great champ.
Thank you guys very much.
You sorted out your mic. The mic's been
come back.
fantastic, Preston.
Good.
Come back in one of our shows.
I don't know.
But Preston,
Preston.
remember, meerkats.
Meerkat. Yeah, Jonathan, I think meerkats out of business, aren't they?
Dear.
The meerkat. Oh, you just picked meerkat.
That is funny. Hey, I'm gonna jump off, but you guys have a great weekend.
Yeah, Tuesday we'll talk. Hey, thanks, Preston. You've been a good show. Enjoy. I'm going to send you the links to your post. I'm just behind a little bit. It's up there right now. Matter of fact, I just haven't finished the total post.
Okay.
Well, I really enjoyed. I got a lot of information too from you from that the picture, the little picture tool.
Excellent.
You're going to do really great. Just keep on going. Get listings.
Thank you.
Listing.
Hey,
see you later,
Right,
Preston.
all right. See ya.
I'm going to knock you out. I want to knock him out. Let me knock him out. It's better that the host knocks him out. We knock out slowly. I've actually had one trip. But Preston is really good. He's going to do really well. And it's fun to see somebody at his age who's transitioned over into sales and marketing. Now, his family has been in that business, in the real estate.
Well, funny enough, Bill, he has the understanding on the online stuff. One of the things that you would have to observe if you went up to visit him is, which a lot of millennials might struggle, and I don't know the age of Preston, is the one area that you don't know is what his face-to-face and his sell kind of persona is when he's actually on the field, and especially on telephone sales, because the telephone side of it is also important as well, isn't it? So there's a lot of factors, isn't there, Bill?
Yeah, what you say. Karen is working with a new agent right now, and the person that they're going to do a listing coming up got a call, the agent she's working with, and they want to know what the price is on the phone. And see, Karen says, "Don't give them the price on the phone. It's all over. You'll never get the listing. You got to sit down and explain and go through a process and have a listing presentation. It's got to be face to face." I mean, if you give a price, people hear that, and that's, as soon as they hear that price, their brain turns off. That's all they think about. So you got to understand all the elements of real estate.
There's a lot of, but if you listen, if you go to Curator and you go to their last water cooler, Chris Smith really discusses what a lot of agents think they're in marketing, and marketing is really, really very, very important. But fundamentally, they're into sales, and no agent can fool themselves. They're into sales. So the marketing feeds the sales engine, but the sales element of the process, which is actually turning those inquiries into commission, is the ultimate goal of the whole process. So you got to keep that in mind.
You know, it's funny. I've always thought of what is the difference between marketing and sales, and now with search engines, you can find out a lot faster.
Yeah, but if you listen, I think you'll find it was quite a good show, actually, they did, because he really talks in quite detail about how marketing and sales link and how they are different animals, but they must work with one another. If you're going to be effective, you've got to learn how the two work together.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in real estate sales, it's really that simple. But I think I've got to. Can you kick me out because I'm not feeling that well, Bill?
I'm behind. I'm not unshaven. I'm going to go over to this thing unshaven and say, "Hey, I've been working all morning." So
kick me out, Bill. See you later.
Yeah, kick you out. Good way to finish.
Kick me out.
Take care. Okay, folks. Thanks for those who hung in there and listened. We'll see how this works on interesting Saturday morning. I am late, but Preston is excellent. If you want to go up, he'll be up on a lot of different sites. Jonathan's got a new podcast too, which is about real estate. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.